They say a marriage is over when your wife stops lying well. I used to joke that the real test of love was wiping someone's ass during spinal recovery. I just didn't know she'd outsource mine to a nurse named Raul and a smile that vanished faster than our prenup clauses. Humor was my only anesthesia at that point, but even morphine couldn't dull the slap of what I saw that Tuesday morning. I was halfway through a Banana Ensure and a Vicodin Daydream when I spotted it. A wine glass, her mother's wine glass, lipsticked and rinsed in the sink. That glass had rules. It only came out on anniversaries, job promotions, or when she needed to celebrate something important. And trust me, surviving my L5 fusion surgery wasn't her version of important. She had just left to get groceries, an errand that somehow took 2.5 hours and returned with kale, mascara, and no receipt. But that glass sat there like a middle finger, still beating with water like it had just been rinsed moments before she left. Not her usual cup. Not even her usual spot. She never drinks when I'm medicated. She says it makes her feel guilty. But there it was, carefully cleaned, lipstick on the rim, the same shade she hadn't worn in months. I didn't say anything. Just stared at it for a long minute, my spine aching like a second heartbeat, until the banana shake curdled in my mouth. That's the thing about painkillers, your body gets soft, but your instincts sharpen. I didn't need to be a genius to know I wasn't alone in the house that morning. There was an invisible residue in the air, like someone else had exhaled in my kitchen, sat where I sit, touched things I couldn't even reach from my walker. She hadn't been sleeping in the guest room to give me space. She was nesting, resetting. Her toothbrush had moved half an inch in the cup. One of my socks, just one, was missing from the drawer. The hand towel had been folded the way she used to fold it, back when she still tried. These weren't mistakes. These were patterns. When Nina came home, she kissed my forehead like I was a dying child, not her husband of 10 years. "Sorry it took so long," she said. Trader Joe's was packed. She handed me a single bag. No kale, no receipt, no nothing. Her eyes scanned the sink for a flicker, then darted back. Too fast. And in that instant, I knew she knew I'd seen it. We both pretended the game hadn't started. But it had. I let her warm up my soup, smile, lean in for a pity hug. And I sat there in my recliner like a corpse with a pulse, cataloging every detail. Because painkillers wear off. And when they do, sometimes the first thing you feel isn't your spine. It's betrayal. Before the surgery, we were textbook. Not a fairy tale, but the version of love you settle into like an old sweater, warm in the right places, frayed in ways you forgive. Nina was my anchor, or so I thought. She made green smoothies for breakfast, posted filtered photos of our Sunday hikes, called me her rock to anyone who'd listen. And I believed it, not because I was naive, but because you don't doubt the woman who clips your toenails when you can't bend, who picks your painkillers up without asking. Recovery was hell, but she made it bearable at first. She lit candles during dinner, played mellow jazz at night, rubbed my feet like I was royalty. But somewhere between week 4 and week 6, that jazz turned off mid-track and never came back. She stopped reading to me. The foot rubs dwindled to rushed pats. She still kissed my forehead before bed, but it was like she was checking off a chore on her invisible list. And then came the talk, soft-voiced, over chamomile tea, as if it were about interior design. "I've been thinking about boundaries, Gerald. You know, healthy ones." I nodded like I understood. Like I wasn't being gently exiled from my own marriage. She started journaling again. That's what she said. Every night with the same leather-bound book, curled on the couch in silence. But I saw her fingers move too fast. No pen moves like that. I asked once, jokingly, "You writing a novel over there?" She laughed, but it was a dry chuckle, like something brittle had snapped inside her. "Just thoughts," she said. "I need space to grow." And suddenly, everything was about growth. She joined a women's retreat on Zoom. Started following people on Instagram who posted quotes about becoming your truest self and finding alignment outside of masculine validation. I watched her eyes glaze over as I spoke, like my voice was background noise to some internal movie I wasn't invited to. She didn't leave the house any more than usual, but she left me inside it. She'd sit outside on the porch for hours, claiming she needed to breathe. One afternoon, she came back and smelling like eucalyptus and clove, her cheeks flushed in a way that had nothing to do with sunlight. I said nothing. I needed to believe she was just trying to reset. I owed her that faith. But then she changed the passcode on her phone, said she needed privacy to feel safe. I didn't ask why she needed safety from the man she once said made her feel indestructible. There were other things, too. Small, surgical incisions into the fabric of what we had. Her car's Bluetooth stopped auto-connecting to my phone. I found a man's name in her Spotify history, some acoustic guitarist I'd never heard of, with lyrics about forbidden love and fresh starts. She started doing her makeup differently, bolder, as if aging in reverse. She claimed it was for herself. But people who do things for themselves don't hide the mirror when you walk in the room. Then came the boxes. Small ones, delivered in brown packaging she would snatch from the porch like they were state secrets. One day, I caught a glimpse of a receipt tucked into $1.144 Moonstone Intimacy Oils and something labeled Silence Harness. I told myself it was probably for yoga. Or maybe the retreat. I was good at that rationalizing. Survivors learn how to bend their beliefs into safety nets. But every night she fell asleep with her back turned, and every morning she woke up just a little more gone. Her hugs had no weight. Her eyes stopped locking with mine. Her smile, the one I used to live for, now came quicker, but never in my direction. She still called me honey, still asked if I needed water before bed. But even that felt performative, like someone playing wife in a long-running play she was ready to close. I heard her laugh once on a Zoom call, really laugh, and it startled me. Not because it was loud, but because I hadn't heard it in months. She sounded alive. Not like someone taking care of a healing husband, but like a woman who just remembered something thrilling. She told me it was a book club. I believed her. I had to. Because even though the cracks were obvious, I wasn't ready to watch the whole structure collapse. I still loved her. Or maybe I just loved the memory of who she was. Either way, I held on, even as the grip got bloody. It was a Thursday, late afternoon, and the light in the living room had that soft, golden hue that usually made everything look warmer than it actually was. I was sitting in the recliner, my throne of recovery, listening to the whir of the heating vent and the click of Nina's heels as she paced the kitchen, talking on the phone. Not unusual. She was always on the phone lately. Client check-ins, she called them, since she'd started offering online coaching sessions for women in transition, whatever the hell that meant. But this call was different. She thought I was asleep, half-drugged, half-dozing with a heat pack on my back. But I wasn't. I was sharp, more alert than she knew. My body was in pieces, but my mind had grown fangs. I listened to her laugh, low and smooth, followed by a pause that stretched just long enough to make my skin crawl. "No, baby," she said, "he's out cold. I just tucked a blanket over him. He's practically sedated." Another pause. Then a chuckle, flirtatious and sickening. "You're bad," she whispered. "I still smell like you." My throat tightened, not with panic, but with focus. I didn't move. Didn't even breathe too loud. I just stared at the shadow she cast on the wall, watching her body language like a sniper lining up a shot. She ended the call with a sigh, like it took something out of her, and walked past me on her way to the bathroom. Didn't even glance down. I opened my eyes a sliver, just enough to catch the screen of her phone light up in her hand. A notification previewed itself in the corner, "See you Saturday." Same room, followed by a heart emoji and the name, B. Simple. Clean. Anonymous. But I knew that letter. She'd once mentioned a Benjamin during a coaching workshop, a deep thinker with raw masculine energy, and I'd filed it away like a receipt. She closed the bathroom door gently, but not all the way. A mistake. Or maybe arrogance. The kind that comes when you think someone is too weak to walk, too doped up to notice. I listened as the toilet flushed without ever being used. Then the sound of a text being typed, her nails clicking lightly on the screen. I heard her giggle. A giggle. The same sound she used to make when we were first dating, and I'd whisper something ridiculous into her neck. Something inside me went still, like a fuse had burned out. Not anger. Not heartbreak. Just a sort of mental silence. I stared at the ceiling and counted my breaths, one by one, until she came out. She smiled at me, soft, sweet, practiced, and asked if I wanted tea. I nodded. Said nothing. Just nodded like the good patient I was pretending to be. She made it, even kissed the top of my head as she handed me the cup. And I sipped it. I watched her go back to her journaling, curl into the corner of the couch like nothing had happened. But I had seen everything I needed to. Her eyes didn't flinch anymore. Her posture had shifted. She was comfortable. Too comfortable. Comfortable enough to be careless. That was her mistake. That was always the mistake, the assumption that the one in the bed is helpless, harmless, slow. But I wasn't slow. I was absorbing, analyzing, archiving every word, every movement, every inconsistency, building a mental timeline with precision. I looked at the tea in my hand and realized it was over. Not the marriage that had ended weeks ago. What was over was the illusion that I could still save anything. I was no longer a man holding on to love. I was something else now. Something focused. Cold. Patient. She had no idea I'd stopped swallowing half the pills. That I'd been lying about my pain level for a week. That I'd already created a new email address and changed all the passwords to accounts she didn't even remember existed. While she was busy growing, I was evolving. Not emotionally, strategically. I would lose nothing in the end. She just didn't know it yet. I started with the smallest lie, the easiest one to test. Nina said she had a coaching client every Monday and Thursday afternoon. Convenient hours, always the same time, always just long enough for her to return flushed but reinvigorated, her word, like she'd meditated while running a marathon. So I did something simple. I called the local florist and arranged a delivery of tulips, her favorite, yellow ones, with a card that said, "Just because I'm proud of you." But I didn't send them to the house. I sent them to the cafe she claimed to meet her clients in, listed right on her coaching site. I waited. The delivery confirmation came through at 2:07 p.m. I asked her later that night, with deadpan calm, "Did you get my surprise?" She blinked, tilted her head, smiled just a little too long before saying, "What surprise?" Checkmate number one. She talked around it like it never happened, claimed she must have missed something in the mail, maybe a glitch. That was when I knew, down to my marrow, she hadn't been anywhere near that cafe. So I started creating traps. I planted questions, offhand comments meant to sound casual. "You mentioned your Thursday client was going through a divorce. How's she doing?" I watched her face like a lie detector, pupil dilation, blink rate, breath control. She hesitated for a half second, then launched into a story about a woman named Mara, full of details that sounded practiced. Not real. Scripted. I nodded, tucked the name away, and the next day I searched her coaching email for Mara. Nothing. Not even in the trash folder. Which meant she either used another email or there was no Mara at all. That's when I remembered the burner phone. She kept it in her gym bag, which she'd started carrying with her everywhere, more like a purse than anything fitness-related. While she showered one night, I opened it, careful, silent, gloves on. Inside was a small white iPhone with a cracked corner and no biometric lock, just a passcode. For digits. I watched her type it in one day at the pharmacy, pretending to nap in the passenger seat. 0716, her birthday. Predictable. I unlocked it, opened the messages. That's where I found him. Been. A thread of intimate, coded, disgusting text stretching back for weeks. Photos. Audio clips. Her telling him she couldn't wait to escape. Him asking if I was still crawling around like a pet. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I took screenshots of everything, airdropped them to a hidden folder on my laptop, and locked it all down under encrypted layers she couldn't crack in 1,000 years. I logged the dates, times, message contents, like a prosecutor building a case. Then I backed it up to 3 separate USB drives, each hidden in plain sight, one inside a DVD case of a movie she hated, one taped behind the water heater, and one under the lining of my surgical brace. Insurance. Still, I needed more. Not just proof, but precision. So I stopped tracking her and started tracking her best friend, Mel. Mel was the wild card. Single. Chaotic. The perfect alibi generator. I created a fake Facebook profile, used AI to generate a face that looked just real enough. Sent Mel a friend request, posed as a man who'd met her at a yoga mixer. She took the bait in 3 hours. By day 2, she was messaging back. And by day 5, I had her talking about Nina's mystery man. She didn't drop his name, but she said, "They've been sneaking out to that Airbnb near Crestline like horny teenagers." Bingo. I found the Airbnb listing, then searched our joint account. No charges. But our credit card had a few gas station purchases near Crestline, just low enough to fly under the radar. She wasn't paying for the rental. He was. But she was traveling. Lying. Again. I waited until the next client day, then tracked her phone using the Find My feature she forgot I had access to. Watched the little dot move far out of town, past every cafe and every yoga studio. Right into the mountain woods. She'd turned off her location sharing, but not for the old tablet we kept in the den. Sloppy. That's when I stopped watching. I didn't need to follow the dot anymore. I knew exactly what it meant. From that point forward, I stopped reacting entirely. I smiled when she walked in. Thanked her for the soup. Asked about her clients. Let her believe I was falling for it. She even started kissing me more again, calling me love, overcompensating like a teenager covering a hickey with foundation. I leaned in, murmured things like, "You're all I've got. just to see if her hands trembled when she held my face. They did. Because somewhere, some primal part of her must have sensed the shift. She was hiding, but I was hunting. I didn't need to confront her yet. I was still collecting, still plotting. Because when I moved, it wouldn't be loud. It would be surgical. And she wouldn't even see the blade until she was already bleeding. It was her birthday, which made the symmetry too perfect to resist. I reserved the private room at the Mediterranean place downtown, the one with the high arches and the skylight she loved, said I wanted to celebrate us, and she smiled like she'd already won. She wore the red dress, the one she claimed she didn't fit into anymore but had suddenly rediscovered with new curves and new perfume. I held her chair, poured her wine, even toasted to resilience, with a look that she mistook for affection. I let her talk. About her clients, about the spiritual growth she was feeling, about finding alignment with herself. The waiter came, took our order, and just before the appetizers arrived, I reached into my coat and placed a small black box on the table. She blinked, surprised. You didn't have to, she said, smiling with practiced gratitude. Open it, I said gently. She peeled the ribbon, lifted the lid, and inside was a small USB drive, neatly padded on black velvet. She looked at it, confused. What's this? She asked. Press play, I replied, sliding my phone across the table where I'd already queued the folder. She plugged it into her phone, and the first video played. Her voice, laughing in a way she never did for me anymore, whispering, I still smell like you, followed by a picture of her and Ben at the Airbnb balcony, arms wrapped, lips brushing. Timestamped the same day she told me she was visiting her cousin for emotional support. She froze, face slack, then eyes darting. It's not what it looks like, she murmured. Her fingers trembled as she fumbled to stop the video. It was just, he's going through a divorce too. We're just helping each other. I said nothing. Just watched her squirm under the skylight's glow, like a bug under a microscope. I didn't plan it, she continued, eyes pleading. It just happened. You were recovering. You weren't really there. I didn't know how to talk to you anymore. I poured her another glass of wine. You talked to him just fine. Her mouth opened, closed. Then came the blame. You stopped seeing me. You shut down after the surgery. I needed to feel alive again. She leaned forward, voice sharper now. You're not perfect, Gerald. You don't even see how cold you've been. I was drowning. Still, I didn't raise my voice. And he was your lifeguard? I asked. Or just the only man stupid enough to believe you still had a soul? Her face hardened. The panic was shifting into defense. You're trying to make me feel guilty for something that was bound to happen. We've been dead for years. She said it with such fake confidence I almost admired it. He sees me. He wants me. I leaned in, just enough for her to hear the weight in my voice. He doesn't want you. He wants the woman who pretended to be you. And I'm done playing the part of your past while you audition for your next identity crisis. For a second, I saw her smirk. One last attempt at control. You think you're so clever, Gerald. What are you going to do? Tell everyone. Embarrass yourself. That's when I smiled. Not big. Just enough. Oh, Nina. You still think this is about embarrassment? She flinched. Just a twitch. I let silence fill the space, let her stew in it. You already lost, I said quietly. You just haven't realized what yet. The smirk disappeared, replaced by something smaller, darker. Real fear. The kind that lives behind the eyes when the mask starts slipping and they don't know what you know anymore. She glanced around the room as if someone else might have been watching. Her breath quickened. Gerald, if you're thinking of doing something reckless, I cut her off. Calm as stone. I already did. I trusted you. Her hands went flat on the table. The wine sat untouched. The candles flickered against her cheekbones, casting shadows that made her look older, more desperate. What happens now? She whispered. I didn't answer. I just stared at her like I was seeing her for the first time, like the costume had finally come off. And it had. The birthday cake came, but neither of us touched it. We sat in silence, two strangers buried under years of lies, the tension so thick it could choke the air. I wasn't going to leave. Not yet. Let her sit in it a while longer. Let the room cool. Let her feel the walls begin to close. We drove home in silence. She stared out the window like it might offer an escape, her reflection in the glass twitching every time the streetlight caught her eyes. I opened the door, walked in first, didn't wait for her. She followed like someone walking into their own execution chamber. As soon as the door clicked shut, the dam burst. You think you're some kind of saint? She snapped, throwing her purse onto the counter. You've never been perfect, Gerald. You smothered me. You made everything about you, and your pain, and your schedule. You drained the life out of this marriage, and now you want to play victim. I sat down calmly, took off my watch, looked at her like a surgeon about to start the incision. You could have left. Her breath caught. She hadn't expected that. She wanted resistance, emotion, something to bounce off. I should have, she hissed, voice rising. You were boring. You just existed. You stopped being a man. You were a patient. A checklist. You think I was cheating? I was escaping. I nodded, slow and cold. And now you're free. Her eyes widened. That wasn't the answer she wanted. She wanted me to yell, to cry, to give her something to step over so she could feel taller. But I gave her nothing. Just silence filled with strategy. She walked in circles, agitated, looking for an angle. You manipulated me too, she said, pointing now. You made me feel guilty for needing anything that wasn't about you. That surgery made everything about you. I met her eyes. You could have told me you stopped loving me. You didn't need to rot your spine with lies. She blinked. I saw it, the panic behind the pupils. The realization that nothing she said would work. She tried to soften, rewrote the script again. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was lost. I didn't know how to fix us. Her voice cracked, a little tremble in it now. Theatrical. Practiced. Don't throw this away because of one mistake. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees, and said, You threw it away every time you came home smelling like another man and kissed me like I was your brother. Her jaw clenched. She was unraveling. You're cruel, she spat. You think you're strong now, but this cold act, it's pathetic. You'll die alone, and no one will even show up to your funeral. I tilted my head slightly. And yet you still needed my money, my name, my house. What does that make you? Her lips parted. No sound came out. The words had landed like a gut punch. She stepped back, arms crossed like she was shielding herself from what I'd already dismantled. I gave you the best years of my life, she said, quieter now, hoping guilt would do what anger couldn't. I stood up. And you sold them for weekends and motel sheets and text messages that'll age worse than you. Her eyes filled, but it wasn't remorse, it was fear. Not of me, but of what she couldn't control anymore. The silence. The calm. The fact that I wasn't trying to win her back or win the argument. I was done playing. And that terrified her more than if I had thrown something. She moved closer, touched my arm. Gerald, we can still fix this. Please. I stepped away. I'm not broken. You are. And I won't be your repair project. Her hand dropped. She looked small now. The woman who once walked with certainty was shrinking in her own skin, like the lies were caving in. So what? You're just going to walk away? She asked, voice cracking for real this time. I looked at her and said, I walked away the moment I saw you lie and smile in the same breath. Then I turned and left the room, not slamming doors, not making noise. Just gone. And behind me, she didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stood there, surrounded by her own echo, for the first time realizing that I wasn't hers to manipulate anymore. I began the next morning, quietly, with the calm of a man sharpening a blade. Nina slept in the guest room now, thinking distance might soften the consequences, but I was long past emotional negotiation. I woke early, brewed my own coffee, black, no sugar, and opened the hidden folder on my laptop. Everything was there. Screenshots, timestamps, text logs, photos, recorded conversations from the burner phone, and a zip file of her social media DMs that she never thought I had access to. I had it all compiled, indexed, and backed up 3 times. One copy went to a trusted friend, a retired paralegal who owed me a favor and had no love for cheaters. The second was hidden on a secure cloud server under a dummy account. The third was mailed to a P.O. box under my cousin's name, insurance. The next move was financial. I'd already opened a new bank account months ago, back when I first noticed the inconsistencies. Now I moved what was left of our shared savings into it, my half, exactly, to the penny. I called the credit card companies, froze the accounts, and had my name removed from anything she might leverage. The car title? Already transferred. The lease? Already terminated with a quiet conversation and a buyout clause she never noticed buried in the paperwork. She would return from whatever emotional yoga retreat she had planned next to find her gas card declined and her vehicle registered to a name she hadn't seen since our wedding day, mine alone. Then came the utilities, gas, water, electric, streaming accounts, all transferred, canceled, rerouted. I left just enough on to keep her comfortable for the moment, but made sure the billing cycle would hit hard 2 weeks later. She'd think it was a glitch. It wasn't. I contacted her employer next, no drama, just a clean, precise message to the HR department, with attached files marked confidential. I didn't accuse her of cheating. I simply raised a professional concern that she was using company time and resources to facilitate unreported private activity that could reflect poorly on their brand. I knew the company's board chair. We'd played golf once. She'd never see it coming. Then I composed 3 emails, one to her father, one to her sister, and one to our mutual friend Jenna. All factual. No emotion. I thought you should know why things are ending. I've attached proof. I wish it didn't come to this. Simple. Clear. Devastating. No room for her to twist the narrative into victimhood. They'd see the truth in her own words and pictures. I met with a divorce attorney, one I'd vetted months earlier under the guise of estate planning. She specialized in high-conflict dissolutions. Loved details. Loved receipts. I gave her everything: dates, names, hidden income, burner transactions. Nina had made the mistake of coaching clients under the table, and now those underreported earnings would haunt her in mediation. I instructed the attorney to file the divorce quietly, with temporary orders blocking asset transfers and freezing shared liabilities. By the time Nina opened the envelope, it was already done. Every contingency covered. Every trapdoor sealed. I contacted the HOA to transfer our home security system permissions and change the admin login on the smart lock. Then I changed the Wi-Fi passwords, disabled her profile on the smart TV, and revoked access to our streaming services. Not out of pettiness, but control. Every small loss compounds when the world starts closing in. I didn't need to humiliate her. I just needed to remove the illusion of stability one careful layer at a time. Finally, I booked a weekend away for myself, alone, no explanation. Left early in the morning without a word. Left my ring on the kitchen table beside a manila envelope with the words, "For your records." Inside was a summary of everything she'd done. A spreadsheet of her betrayal. Clean. Labeled. Paginated. She'd returned to a house that no longer belonged to her, an account she couldn't access, friends she couldn't spin, and a future entirely beyond her grasp. And the most brutal part? I never raised my voice. I never called her names. I never gave her the drama she craved to justify her collapse. I just removed the scaffolding of the life she thought was permanent. Quietly. Efficiently. Permanently. She thought she was playing chess. But I was building the board, and now I was flipping it. It happened at her sister's engagement party, outdoors, catered, linen tablecloths and fairy lights strung through the trees. Nina insisted we go, told me it would be a chance to show we're moving forward, and I agreed without flinching. Let her think the healing narrative was still alive. Let her dress up in her pastel pink, with her curled hair and borrowed innocence, and step into a room full of people who already knew. Because I'd made sure of it. Her father, the stone-faced former lieutenant, had received the flash drive 3 days earlier. Her sister, always suspicious but too polite to ask, had read every message I'd tagged, every blurred hotel photo, every timestamped betrayal with quiet, trembling horror. Jenna, the friend she used to complain about, had called me crying, saying she had no idea, that if she had known, she would have warned me. Even Ben had seen it, his own face reflected back at him in screenshots forwarded to his professional email by a concerned party. His reply was silence. Then a block. She never saw it coming. So when we arrived, her hand linked in mine like a chain of rehearsed intimacy, I saw the shift immediately. Her sister's hug was stiff. Her father nodded once, without looking her in the eye. The air was taut, the kind of quiet that doesn't register until you've walked into it too loud. She noticed, but not quickly enough. Weird vibe, huh? She whispered, trying to keep the smile on her face. I didn't respond. Just kept walking. We found our table. She laughed too loudly during the toast. Overcompensated. Tried to joke about being in a funk lately, but her words landed like bricks on porcelain. No one laughed back. Then came the slide, small at first. Her cousin declined a photo with her. Jenna gave her a look that froze mid-smile and never unfroze. Her phone buzzed. She checked it. Froze. I didn't have to look to know what it was, just one of many silent messages arriving like landmines. The pictures had started circulating. Screenshots. Snippets. Truth compressed into text and silence. She pulled me aside, eyes wide now. "Gerald," she hissed. Did you send those files to people?" Her voice cracked on people. I met her gaze with calm steel. I told the truth. I let them decide what it meant. She blinked, a twitch at the corner of her left eye, that same twitch she used to get when she lied as a child. She tried to steady herself. "You're ruining my life." I leaned in. No, Nina. You did that. I just removed the curtain. She stormed off, heels clacking on brick like a metronome gone rogue. Her sister followed her. There were raised voices behind the garden arch. I didn't move. Just sipped my water. Watched. The guests kept talking, but the hum of conversation was fractured. Eyes kept darting. Everyone knew. Everyone. She came back 10 minutes later, makeup smudged, breathing shallow. She tried to rejoin the table, tried to sit beside me, but I didn't shift. I didn't meet her halfway. I just looked at her like she was air. That's when it all broke. Her smile twitched. She stood up again. Are you all just going to pretend like this is normal? She shouted, eyes darting to the surrounding tables. Her father looked away. Her sister wiped a tear. A second cousin stood up and left. And in that moment, she knew. The mask had shattered. Her voice cracked. He's not perfect either, she shouted. You all think he's so righteous. He's cold. He's manipulative. He made me feel invisible. No one responded. That silence was a verdict. Her hands trembled. She looked at me. Say something, she begged. Please. I stayed still. My fork touched my plate. My eyes didn't blink. That's what destroyed her. Not the emails, not the judgment, not the social collapse. Me, sitting there, unmoved, like I'd already buried what we were and built something stronger on top of it. She broke in real time, her voice rising, her body shrinking, until she finally turned and fled through the hedge path, her heels sinking into the dirt. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. Everyone had already seen it. And the silence she left behind was louder than any scream she could have made. It happened 2 weeks later, at her mother's retirement party, a community center filled with coworkers, old family friends, and every extended relative who once adored Nina for her charm and social finesse. She wasn't supposed to be there. Her mother asked her not to come, said it would cause tension, but Nina never could resist a spotlight, even one that no longer wanted her on stage. She arrived late, overdressed, overly made up, and immediately tried to blend into the crowd like she hadn't just scorched her own reputation to ash. I was already there, speaking quietly with her father near the buffet, when I saw her across the room, hovering just outside a group, laughing a second too loud, pretending to be unbothered. But then she saw me, and the mask cracked. She crossed the room like a storm, eyes wide with that same entitled fury she used to unleash behind closed doors. You set me up, she hissed, loud enough that the table next to us went quiet. I turned to face her, calm as steel. No, Nina, you set yourself up. I just showed everyone the mirror. She laughed, sharp, deranged, desperate. You're sick. You wanted to destroy me. You planned this. Her voice rose with every word. Heads turned. Her mother stood frozen near the cake, lips pressed tight. I made one mistake, she shouted. One. And you've turned it into a crucifixion. I stepped forward, dropped my voice just low enough to draw everyone closer. One mistake? That's what you call 3 months of motel visits, burner phones, and a man who blocked you the moment the truth came out. There was a gasp from behind her. Someone dropped a fork. You're unbelievable, she snarled. You think this makes you the hero? You were never even present in this marriage. You were a shell. A crippled, boring, bitter shell. I smiled. And yet you kept coming home to that shell, sleeping beside it, kissing it, lying to it while you played martyr to your own self-destruction. She swung around to the crowd. He manipulated all of you. He cherry-picked evidence. You don't know what he's really like. Her best friend Jenna stepped forward then, arms crossed. We saw the messages, Nina. Every one of them. Nina's mouth fell open. Her father cleared his throat behind me. I defended you, Nina, until I couldn't anymore. And then the room fractured, murmurs rising, head shaking, people taking literal steps away from her. She looked around like a drowning woman scanning for a lifeboat. You all think I'm the villain? What about him? He's cold. He's obsessive. He monitored me like a warden. I stepped in, eyes locked on hers. I monitored the life we built while you treated it like a prison sentence. I gave you trust. You returned it with deception. I gave you loyalty. You repaid it with motel sheets and silence. You don't get to rewrite this. She tried to push past me, but I didn't move. You're enjoying this, she whispered. Watching me fall apart. I leaned in so only she could hear. No. I'm just watching you finally meet the consequences you begged the world to ignore. Her mother finally stepped forward, placing a hand on Nina's arm, but Nina shrugged it off. Don't touch me. I don't need saving. No, I said loud enough for all to hear. You need accountability. She turned, voice ragged now. You think you're so above me, Gerald? You think walking out of here makes you better? I stared her down. No. Walking out of here makes me free. And with that, I stepped past her, through a path the crowd parted without question, and into the cool night air. Behind me, I could still hear the sounds of her unraveling, the shouting, the crying, the desperate flailing for control she never truly had. But I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Her world had already collapsed, and this time, the whole room watched it fall. In the weeks after the explosion, her world didn't just crumble, it disintegrated piece by piece. Every lie she built her new life on eaten away by the truth like rot in a foundation. She lost her job first, HR called it reputational incompatibility, but the real reason was the same one echoing in every corner of her life. Everyone saw who she really was. Clients stopped calling. Her social media turned into a ghost town. Friends unfollowed. Comments dried up. She posted one photo of herself smiling. Weeks later, captioned it something hollow like, rising from the ashes, but no one liked it. Not even her sister. She moved out of the city within a month, told people she needed fresh air and a new start, but word travels fast and silence travels faster. In the new town, she worked behind the counter of a boutique gym she once would have scoffed at, folding towels for women half her age and watching them live lives she thought would be hers forever. Ben, the man she burned it all for, disappeared as soon as the privacy did. Blocked her on everything, changed his number, acted like she never existed. I didn't have to lift a finger. The world turned its back on her without me asking. Justice didn't come with sirens or spotlights, it came with cold, crushing silence. And then, one Sunday afternoon, she showed up. Knocked on my door wearing the same sweater she used to lounge in during snowstorms, like it would trigger something in me. But I wasn't that man anymore. Her hair was unbrushed, her eyes swollen. She stood there holding a box of old photos like it was some kind of peace offering. Gerald, she said, and even her voice sounded different, smaller, like it had shrunk with her pride. Can I just talk? I didn't invite her in. I didn't ask why she came. I just stood there, letting her fill the silence with desperation. I made a mistake. I was selfish. I was stupid. I ruined the best thing that ever happened to me. I know that now. I know it every single day. She started crying, but there was no power in her tears anymore. No leverage. I still love you, she said, choking on it like she'd been holding it in for too long. I looked at her, not with anger or pity, but with something colder, detachment so absolute it felt like peace. Strange, I said. I don't even remember your name anymore. Her knees buckled, just slightly, and I saw the weight of it land. She nodded, eyes on the ground, and turned without another word. I watched her walk down the steps, slower than she arrived, as if every step confirmed what she already knew, that whatever piece of me she thought still existed had long since burned away. I closed the door and locked it behind her. That was the last time I saw her. And I didn't feel relief or triumph, just silence. A clean silence, the kind you get when the noise is finally over. Thanks for sticking with me through this story. I'm curious, where are you listening from? Did this one hit the way you thought it would? Let me know if you want to hear another. I've got plenty more where that came from.